What does the glitch attraction hide off camera during the ending sequence? Now you might think this ending sequence is short, and you're right, it is. But I had no idea I would find so many hidden things left in this game. We have quite a bit to cover, so buckle up for the final deep dive into this game. So this part of the game's recap is very short. You basically come out of a slide and walk through a series of rooms that are isolated moments and memories. These follow the events of the FNAF 4 cutscene where the crying child gets bitten. At the end, you touch the plush toy, Fredbear appears behind you all creepily, and then you see the protagonist morphing between being a human and becoming an endoskeleton. That's the recap, short and sweet. So starting off, the title screen for this area doesn't actually have a whole lot in it. There are no animatronics and there are only moving lights. So in terms of finding something new out here, well, there isn't anything. What we see is what we get, and there isn't anything I could find hidden in this area. But that's okay because there's plenty hidden in the game itself. So the 6 rooms that we go through are actually not loaded until we touch that door handle in the previous room. If we were to take an overhead look at all these rooms, only the animatronics and the children are present at all times. You will also notice that the slide we came in on is basically just a macaroni noodle. It is cut off right around the bend. And just because I know some of you are curious, there's a locked door in the final room, and there's actually nothing behind that door. So even though this video is about this final area, these 6 rooms are actually the least interesting thing about this final map, because it's what's hidden out in the darkness, deactivated, that we want to see. Like a giant glitch trap. Yes, this giant glowing purple face is actually a 300-foot tall glitch trap hidden out in the darkness. Now at the moment we can see his face, but given the background, we do not have the capability at the second to see his full body. But once we restore other parts of the map in a few minutes, we will be able to see his body as clear as day. Well, sorta. Besides a giant glitch trap, we can find a mysterious door out here as well. And what's interesting is that we have this single door on this grayscale flooring, and it's just dark all around this area. And this door has several deactivated states, and we can walk up to it, but we cannot go through it. But looking around this weird liminal space, it's just spooky and eerie. It feels like a place you would encounter in a nightmare. Something else that's interesting is that it looks like this final memory area used to have reflective water or some sort of substance too, because there's a massive amount of it here, but it's deactivated. And all these things sort of lead me to the next area. Like they're all like these digital breadcrumbs, and they're all really interesting. The giant glitch trap, and now this door, but now we have something that's really interesting, and it's the back alley area. So the back alley area was also once the building entrance, and we can find it out here, disabled, and if we re-enable it, we can find some pretty interesting things. For one, we can just find Vanny standing frozen in place outside the building. The sign next to the door that says the glitched attraction is flickering, and certain parts of this area just don't exist. However, for reference, we're actually not too far from that mysterious door that we were talking about before. It's just beyond the vents. But what's interesting about this outside area is that the fields around it go on for quite a while. We can walk out to this massive grassy yard, and we can see that the chain link fence abruptly stops, yet the underground basement area is missing. There's nothing out here but grass though, so we're going to wander back towards the building now. So some of the mechanics here on this map are currently stripped. So, for example, we can go over to those vents that Molten Freddy normally comes out of, and we can flash those vents. That flashing mechanic does work. However, trying to go over to the computer and using it, well, that doesn't work. The computer is really broken. Everything is like activated at once, but all the functionality is stripped. But next to this computer is this magnificent door. And this door is magnificent because behind it is every environment in the game. And we have the capability of loading them all in. But doing them all at once is a nightmare. And it makes my PC crawl for obvious reasons. We got Nightmare Fredbear clipping through the floor and sneaking up on Toy Chica. We can disable this and then turn on the FNAF 3 area with Dreadbear. And if we remove the front door, we can walk inside too, and none of the animatronics can hurt us. Toy Chica is frozen in place, and the FNAF 2 area is all sorts of glitchy. Now, anytime a animatronic is activated, they do a little animation and then they freeze in place. So that's ultimately what we're seeing here. So when we toggle on the sister location area, it's a very similar experience. The environment pops in and overlaps the existing map, but we are free to explore it. However, in this sister location area, the shock button doesn't work, and the computer has seen better days for sure. One of the hallways is blocked as well due to the outer walls of this building clipping through it. Now if we swap to the actual back alley interior, this will put Glitchtrap at the front door for us. And we can even walk inside this cursed building and grab the pair of shears. So essentially these environments are basically massive copy and paste into this one single region. This broke some functionality, but this brought over most of the items that were normally in that scene. But things get weirder though, because a mini floating vanny can be activated next to the life-size one. And there's also a strange untextured burn trap that is floating outside the building too. I'm not entirely sure why this dude's here, but this is probably the weirdest animatronic I've found yet, besides the massive Glitchtrap. And as you can see by the sign, perhaps all of this makes a little more sense now. So the strange from the building is actually the leftover remains of the area that they filmed and recorded all the promotional materials for the game. This was their stage for getting video clips and photos. We got some randomly placed endos clipping through the ground over here as they're leaning up against the building. But as we delve deeper into the leftover data, you'll see something very familiar. And it's not this. I accidentally loaded every animatronic in the doorway at once. But this is what I meant. We have all the animatronics posed outside the building, and they're all frozen in place. Trying to flash Molten Freddy does nothing, of course, and we have some Z fighting on the walls with overlapping geometry. But this setup was used in the promotional banner on GameJolt. They set up the stage to take a cool banner image, and it's still in the game files. If we head into the building during this banner shot, we can find Glitchtrap at his desk, but his head will always turn and watch us. He cannot hurt us though, but it's just kinda creepy. Overall, this area is super cool. It feels like walking through a photograph, because in many ways it is. But now let's go back to that Glitchtrap. So we can toggle on these massive storm clouds that are very bright for some reason above the map. But we can use these clouds to actually get a good look at the giant Glitchtrap I mentioned before. So moving this massive lad over here, we can see his body is completely textured with solid black, minus his face. And we can see he's in a strange leaning pose. So I shrunk him down in size quite a bit despite him still being super tall. The mysterious door can be seen for reference in the background, but with all the stuff running, my PC's starting to crawl. We can turn these two things off and get a good wide shot of the full map up here. Hopefully being up here gives you some context about how big this map actually is. But now let's go way back to the actual memory section and go to that final room with the plush. Because when we activate the plush, we can see that Fredbear totally disappears behind us during a cutscene animation. He just snaps into existence. And the second this is over, the scene where we're turning into an endo actually takes place above this room. If we move the camera up there, we can see an endo skeleton is up here, and the arm is stretched out and away from the torso as the morphing effect is taking place. When I first played this, I actually had no idea how they pull this off, so it's kind of neat to see. Now with this takes us to the end of the game, but we have, I guess, two little things to show off still. As a bonus, we can check out the gallery, which is the extra area on the menu. And by manipulating the game, we can activate a ton of animatronics all at once. We're basically creating the blob ourselves with this extra mode. Now, this map doesn't have anything beyond the walls, the floor just goes out quite a bit, but that's it. But now that we've come to the end of the adventure, it's time to show off all the title screens at once. There's a lot we couldn't see before, but now we can if we remove the haze from the map. And I'm just gonna cut through a bunch of different shots right now as I talk because honestly, a lot of this stuff are things we've seen before, but the layout itself is awesome to see with everything side by side. There are some things I did not mention before though, which are new. So I'm pretty sure I missed the ventilation title screen area because it's so short and the title screen cycles to the next escape room. But we have Vanny here clipping through walls like the glitchy rabbit she is. There's also a random cup of soda floating out in the void that I missed before. And there's a random piece of metal out of bounds in the sister location area. And, just like before, another copy of all these environments exist, stacked on top of each other in a similar layout that we just covered. Seeing a full zoom out of all these places is really cool though. With that, the glitch attraction is finally done. It was a very long adventure going through all these things, but I really hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe now if you did because there's plenty more of Five Nights at Freddy's coming, and of course, I hope you enjoyed those videos once they drop. Thanks for watching, and cheers.